Another thing I wanted to bring up, Lepore, is Auston Matthews.
Yeah.
And he's in a little bit of a slump right now. He hasn't scored in his last 4 games. He has 3 goals over his last 11. Are you concerned at all? And not even just with Matthews, maybe even the play of the top line in general, how they haven't been, producing at the same rate that they were, the first 20 or so games of the season.
It'd be easy for me to say that, I'm not concerned because, we all know they're great players and they are still getting a lot of chances. But where I am concerned is just the confidence level. Like, you want this team to be going guns a-blazing, and there's a lot of mental timing involved. So when they head into the playoffs, you want that confidence to be sky high, like that feeling of everything I shoot's going in. And we saw the frustration in Matthews breaking the stick on the bench. It was pretty hilarious. Like, these last 2 games, he's getting robbed. He's hitting posts. One thing I didn't know, they said last night he's leading the league in goal posts.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, he's got like 7 or 8 posts, and like it's
wow.
like that's like 1 every 3 games. Like, quick math, like that's a lot of fucking posts. And again, you throw in like the robbery he's getting, so he's got a right to be frustrated. And I expect them to be going in for him, but there's that lurking thing in me that's kind of concerned in the way that you want him to be playing at 100 come playoff time. And again, there's a lot of timing involved, a lot of bullshit involved. So slightly, not overly concerned, slightly concerned. He might score 5 goals this week, and I'm completely going the other way. As for the top line in general, what I have been very happy with, even though it's not full on showing on the score sheet, is that Marner's been shooting a lot more. Like, someone brought up something along the lines of, like, in 4 of his last 5 games, he had 5 shots on goal. And like, there were times where I just wanted to like put my hands on Marner's shoulders, slam him down into a chair, and say, "Mitch, shoot the fucking puck." But apparently he's heard it from somewhere because he is shooting more. His goal last night was a great goal. Or sorry, his goal in the previous game against Calgary that tied the game at 3. It was a nice shot. He beat the goalie top corner. So he doesn't have the greatest shot in the world, but he's shown that he can score. But the stuff with the top line kind of ties into what we talked about before, in the way that like things were just going to adjust. Like, they weren't going to go, Gretzky and Lemieux over the entire season. But concerned, yes. Overly concerned, no. To me, it's just a matter of confidence. You hope these guys have high levels of confidence when it really matters.
I'll tell you the one thing that's slightly concerning about the top line, and I think it's that Sheldon Keefe has yet to solidify who that third guy is going to be, because we saw Thornton start the season on the top line, and we said from the get-go, like, that is just not going to work. And we've seen that come to fruition, because Thornton has been demoted the last little while, and he just doesn't look very good. And we've seen Zach Hyman on the top line, and we know that Zach Hyman is a fantastic option on that line, but we also know that Keefe likes to play him a little bit lower down the lineup to create some more depth, have him on that third line with Pierre Engvall and Ilya Mikheyev. So now we've recently seen Wayne Simmons get a chance on that first line. So I'm a little bit concerned. And listen, I'm not concerned about Matthews and Marner. I think they're going to be fine. Matthews is the best goal scorer in the league. Marner's one of the best playmakers in the league. They're both elite. But as we get closer and closer to the playoffs, I would like to see that first line get solidified at one point. I'd like Sheldon Keefe to be like, this is our first line. This is the third guy. And this is what we're rolling with. And sure, do you need to be flexible, in a playoff series and on a game-to-game basis? Yes, of course you do. Because as we saw under Mike Babcock, that dude had like zero flexibility. It was his way or the highway. Whereas with Sheldon Keefe, you're seeing like he's willing to try out a bunch of different things. And he'll make adjustments in game. He makes adjustments game to game. He's not afraid to do any of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, he went crazy last night. Like, going into the game, the lines were a complete whack job compared to the night before.
Oh yeah, big time. But I think even he is a little bit frustrated at this point with like, man, oh man, who is the third guy on this top line? Yeah. Because I think it's really important. And sure, are Matthews and Marner going to produce sort of regardless of who's on the line? Yeah, probably. But when you're getting into a playoff series and we're getting into the home stretch of the season, I would like to see them solidify that at some point. And I don't know if it's Wayne Simmons. I
Mm.
don't think it's Wayne Simmons, to be honest with you, based on what I've seen recently with him with those guys. But what's your take on that? Are you concerned with that at all?
I think what's going to end up happening, and this is like my crystal ball, I think it's going to end up being Hyman and the third guy for the second line with Nylander and Tavares is going to be whoever they pick up. Like I think that's their circled thing of we need this at the deadline. A third guy. And then who knows, maybe Hyman moves to the second line and then whoever they pick up moves up to Matthews and Marner. But that's just how I see it. But I'm with
That's
you.
a really good way to look at it, actually.
Yeah, like because I just look at it and I'm like, I guess I'm just thinking what you are in the way that it has to be established by the time they get to the playoffs. And I just think, and even too with the type of guy you get at the deadline, like you always hear the big names and you go back and you see like, oh, when Kovalchuk was picked up and like I remember like Hossa at the deadline and like rumors remember when Sundin at the deadline, he didn't get traded, but like where he was going to go. It never seems to be that team that picks up that like number one player, like that big splash guy at the deadline. It's always like a nice depth piece or that third guy to put with skilled players. Because let's face it too, in today's era, like with what you're willing to trade, so what you'll have to trade to get like a 5-star player, like people are bringing up Taylor Hall and like however the numbers would work and like what we'd have to move out, it'd be insanity, it'd be a big deal. But are you willing to give that up? But maybe okay, you can trade away like a second or a prospect to get a nice player, like a nice player that you can insert with Nylander and Tavares or Matthews and Marner, and then Hyman goes where that guy does not. And then you have a top six. And then your bottom six, you have Simmons, you have wherever you want to put Thornton, Spezza, Robertson's coming back. I mean, and the list of hundreds of forwards that the Toronto Maple Leafs currently have.
Yeah, they have a lot of
they have a lot of forwards. So yeah, like that's just where I see it going. And that's kind of been my prediction all year. But I mean, we'll see if it happens. But I'm with you in the way that this has to get nailed down.
Yeah, no, totally. And yeah, I don't think they're gonna go after like a star forward
Yeah, it's not gonna
at the
happen.
deadline, but it's like you said, I think they're very much in play to go after like a depth forward who can play in the top six. And I know the rumors have been swirling about this happening for the last few weeks. And that will probably solidify things once that does happen. So, I guess Leaf fans, we just need to be patient because I'm sure this is all going to sort itself out at some point before the April 12th NHL trade deadline.